What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Fourth and Fantasy Podcast, episode 17 coming at you. My name's Meek, and I got Sam Presti across the table, also known as Wu.
What's going on?
Wu, we just had a monster deal just go down in our Dynasty draft. Care to let us know what happened?
Yeah, so literally 2 minutes ago before we hit record.
Literally 2 minutes ago.
Me and another gentleman in our league, he's been wanting Knicks. So you remember I traded Josh Allen. Knicks was a part of that deal, and he's been texting me about Knicks probably the last 2 months, month and a half. And I was like, no, I can't do it. Geno Smith's my only other quarterback that I could start. So I figured I needed to keep Knicks. And then today happens. He has the 105 in our rookie draft that started an hour ago. Comes to me and says, 105 and something else for Knicks. So obviously now I'm intrigued. And it turned into I sent away Bo Nix for stay with me now.
I got
you
here.
Got it? All right.
So Wu sent away Bo Nix, but in return, he receives a 2026 second, a 2026 seconds, a 2026 first round pick, a 2027 first round pick, and two 2027 seconds.
That's 6 picks for the people at home.
Yeah, 6 picks for Bo Nix. So listen, first impressions, I don't care who the player is. If you're getting 6 picks in return,
I can't turn.
You
it
pull
down.
the trigger on that.
I can't turn it down.
And we've been very bullish of Bo Nix on this podcast.
I love Bo Nix.
Exactly, but you also have to see the other side of it, where he could potentially flame out on you, not turn out. He only had one good rookie year, but for Cullen, you traded 6 picks away for one player, and if he doesn't turn out, you've just tanked.
Yeah,
you tanked yourself.
And I know the feeling because I've given up a lot of picks over the past couple of years, selling out for a championship.
Right.
And I was just saying, I kind of felt stuck. I had nowhere to go when it comes to assets. So that's obviously been reversed.
No, yeah.
So
we got assets galore.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is the Fourth and Fantasy Podcast. Just want to say really quick, we have hit 1,006 plays across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. That is thanks to the folks that are watching, the folks that are listening. We love you. Make sure you're following us if you haven't already on our socials. Twitter at Fourth and Fantasy Pod, Instagram and TikTok at Fourth and Fantasy. YouTube is Fourth and Fantasy as well. Make sure you give us a like, follow, reach out to us, direct message, because somebody did. You're gonna see them on the show later on.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, we're gonna get into our quick question of the day. Quick question. I call this one Woo post-draft hangover.
Yep.
Who was your favorite pick in the draft? Could be for fantasy purposes or just football overall.
Yeah, mine's got nothing to do with fantasy. This guy's just an absolute sicko, and I would kill to have him on my
God,
team.
I love him.
Safety out of Georgia, Malachi Starks gets picked by the Ravens. That pick screams Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, it does.
If he is Ed Reed 2.0, do not be surprised. There are a lot of teams who are going to kick themselves when they didn't pick him.
I was going to say he went 27th, and he was a bona fide first round pick, but went 27th, which is crazy.
He is a freak. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've seen every single highlight of him and all the tape on him coming into the draft, but the few clips I have seen, oh my God. So the Baltimore Ravens now have him and Kyle Hamilton running the middle of that field, and it's a pretty good place to be.
That's a scary deal. And I think in Baltimore's draft, they got Mike Green, the guy from Marshall, that edge. So Baltimore's just doing Baltimore things.
All they do is just draft insane defensive players, and all the football things aside, Malachi Starks, sick name.
Yeah,
sick name.
Love that. I went very selfish here. I'm gonna take my victory lap here. A pair of 2 picks that honestly they were my 2 favorite picks for fantasy purposes in the draft. They go to the Los Angeles Chargers. They go by the names of Omarion Hampton and Trey Harris. I sat here at this table and I said that Omarion Hampton was my number 2 overall prospect. Just the fact that I never thought he was going to be there at 22 for the Chargers. I thought for sure Denver was going to take them or the Steelers in front of them. But the fact that they were able to, him fall into their lap and they pull the trigger on it, and then also in the second round go out and get Trey Harris to improve Justin Herbert. It just gets me excited for Charger football. But like anyone's favorite team, they're going to find a way to hurt me in the future. But
but it's fun to have 2 explosive offensive rookie players on your team.
So when am I going to see that Trey Harris jersey?
It's coming in the mail. It'll be right behind your Lad McConkey jersey.
Yep, exactly. So those are our quick questions. And we're gonna move on to a quick team evaluation. We had someone reach out to us via Instagram, friend of the show. We just want to shout him out. I lost the message. Jack Thompson. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the show. He wanted a quick team evaluation, so we have the team up. I'm just going to read it off really quick, just the starters, maybe a couple of bench players, and his picks. So Jackson, I believe it's a 12 team, but it's a tight end premium. Start 3, 6, 10. Start 7. Yep. He has Lamar as his quarterback. His running backs are Aaron Jones and Isaiah Pacheco. Wide receivers are A.J. Brown, Zay Flowers. Tight end is Brock Bowers. You love to see that. Yeah. And his two flexes are Juwan Jennings and Bucky Irving. So this is a non-super flex league, but on his bench he does have Justin Herbert. I do see Jalen Warren. And
maybe gets another year out of Debo.
Yeah, maybe gets another year out of Debo. And then we look at his picks. Jack's looking like he's got only the 208 and the 408 this year for picks. And then it seems like he has all of his picks in the next 2 drafts.
A lot of seconds, I see.
Yeah,
you got plenty of assets here. You know, if I were to say one thing, running back room is a little tight. Aaron Jones is getting a little old.
Yep.
Listen, I like Pacheco, but it is kind of a scary scenario. Like, I'm not exactly 100% confident going into next year. I need to see what they do, through training camp and, what Kareem Hunt's usage looks like. So I think with all of those picks, in my mind at least, I'd be looking to go after some running backs. I would wait for the rookie drafts to happen.
He does have Bucky too.
Bucky is nice.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking for the future, like, I don't know how many years you got out of Aaron Jones. You might be able to package Aaron Jones in a couple of these picks for a younger running back.
Sure.
That's where mine goes, at least. I don't know.
No, I like where your head's at with that. The only other thing I would also say too is maybe if you could, because this is it's a non-super flex league, so like Lamar's going to be your dude all the way through.
Yeah. I
wonder if you take Justin Herbert. We just talked about it in our quick question about him. The Chargers loaded up on offense for him, drafting Omarion Hampton, Trey Harris. They got a tight end. They got a lot of assets. I wonder if you tier down with Herbert to get, a lower tier quarterback and a pick, like a first round pick. Like, I don't know, maybe you take the shot on like Dak coming back next year. You tier down and get Dak in a first for Herbert, or something like that. But, overall good team.
The Brock Bowers and the tight end.
Yeah, the Brock Bowers one.
A lot of fun.
That's got to be great. But send us a DM, Jack, on how you do during the season, because we're curious to see.
Yeah, keep us updated on those rookie picks too.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know, Will, with the we did talk about the craziness of our dynasty league, but we did have the NFL draft just happen.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I think it did. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, all the dust is settled, right? And now we have all these picks have happened. The landing spots have been either great for these players, not so great for some players, and we're going to get into that. But this episode, we're going to talk about, post-draft winners and losers. And we're just going to at first talk about, the draft results for each position on the guys we've been keeping tabs on, and kind of let you know where they landed, what was their draft capital. Obviously there were some surprises, both good and bad. So, we're definitely going to talk about that. And then at the end of the show, we're going to get into our winners and losers. And Wu, if you want to jump in and talk about winners and losers as we go, I'm totally comfortable with that, whatever you want to do, buddy. Yep. So we're going to break it down position by position, and if there are any that you want me to stop on and talk on, Wu, just let me know. But Cam Ward went 101 to the Tennessee Titans. I think that was shock. Like minus 20,000 if you were trying to bet that.
I wish I'd bet it when the Abdul Carter stuff was going on.
You'd have been
true.
Absolutely right. So we know what this is going to bring for fantasy, right? The hope is he going to be able to keep it going for the season? We were expecting in our predictions, we were talking about Tennessee taking a wide receiver with their early second round pick, and I don't think they did that.
I think the only other receiver they took was Ion Maynor.
Yes, and that was late in the fourth.
Yeah.
So we'll see what Cam Ward can do with Calvin Ridley, and hopefully Treylon Burks can come back, because I know he had a major injury.
That would be awesome.
Right, and then you think, Shedeur Sanders, right? Second off the board. No.
Story's crazy.
Yeah. We'll get into Shedeur later, but
I got some stuff to say.
Second QB off the board was Jackson Dart. New York actually traded back into the first round to get him, and now they have their guy.
I think this is Brian Daboll saving his job.
Yes, I think so too.
How can you let him, be a part of the draft room, during this process, and you're willing to get back into the first to go get a young quarterback? Daboll, he was a part of the Josh Allen development.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't had his own quarterback since he's been in New York. Like the Daniel Jones experiment, that was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
So now Daboll's in a position where he can take, they get a guy like Jackson Dart, and Daboll can, put him through a system and really get into the nitty-gritty of developing him. So you can't do that all in 1 year. So I think Daboll's got to have at least 2 more years here. And I know some Giants fans who don't like the Dart pick, and I don't know why.
I don't know either.
I
honestly, I think he's appropriately drafted. I think he was the second best quarterback in this draft, and a team showed it. The
I
Giants
think the arm
traded back
talent
in.
alone is that's the upside for you right there.
Yeah. So just to round out the rest of the quarterbacks, Tyler Show, quarterback out of Louisville, was taken by the Saints at 208.
Messed that up royally.
Yeah,
That's New Orleans, major loser. How do you
Yes.
how do you come out of had all these quarterbacks and this is the one you take?
Yeah.
In the second round.
I don't know. I don't get that one. Then Jalen Milroe was taken in the second round. This one, I like this one a lot.
That's a good spot.
To the Seattle Seahawks at the 228. The thing that you need to realize especially with Milroe is that Sam Darnold, yes, he signed a 3-year deal, but the Seahawks can get out in the first year, after the first year. So if he's not doing well, see ya. And then maybe it's just 1 year that is all they need for Milroe.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Milroe needed to go somewhere and sit for at least a year.
Yeah. Dylan Gabriel gets taken at the 30th pick in the third round by the Cleveland Browns. And you think, okay, Browns got their guy. They're going to move on. Nope. 5th round. Shedeur Sanders, welcome. You are a Cleveland Browns. I just don't understand. Listen, I was not high on Shedeur, and I totally get that, and that's totally fair. He's not a 5th-round pick.
No.
I'm going to come out and say it up front. He's not a 5th-round pick. He doesn't deserve to fall that low. Did you also see what happened to him? He got prank called during the draft too.
That move is crazy.
Yeah.
Like major scumbag move. Like I would be if I'm Shedeur, like I saw that the kid apologized, and I think like Shedeur said like whatever, like everybody does stupid stuff, but like I would rip him. There's no way I'm letting that slide. No way.
Not even
especially with how his draft went.
Yes.
Like,
I don't know. And like, so one of the losers that I have is definitely Cleveland. And it's like, Cleveland, okay, you went and you didn't want him on your board, whatever, because you clearly showed it by taking Dylan Gabriel, who is all of 5'10", and he's, a left-handed quarterback. Nothing against lefties, but like
arm talent really isn't there.
Arm talent isn't there. He has small hands. Like, he was someone who was just like
he can't play.
Completely off the board. You know what I mean?
I'm thinking of the Stephen A. Smith, Kwame Brown.
Oh,
he's got small hands. He can't play. Anyways,
I get that, but still, like, and then you do that, and then you come back and you get Shedeur Sanders. Like, you have an absolute mess of a quarterback room.
It's actually wild. Like, looking at it on paper, I don't get it. The whole Shedeur thing. First off, I'm glad Mel Kiper made it through the draft without passing out.
Yeah.
Because he is in love with Shedeur Sanders.
He was going to lose it.
Yeah, it was bad. But anyways, so I'm happy to see he's still alive. But the whole Shedeur slide, listen, I had him as my second quarterback. I think I'm definitely higher on him than other people are, which is fine. And, NFL teams, they didn't really have him on their board in the first round. That's fine. I get that. Like you said, he is not a 5th-round pick. But I think this boils down to Dion coming out, early in the draft process saying, Shedeur's going to be selective on where he wants to get picked. Mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, Shedeur going into his draft interviews with these teams and bombing the ones that he doesn't want, team he doesn't want to play for. Strike number 2. But to say that, to sit here and say that Shedeur slides to the, like, I wonder if this is the NFL, owners being like, listen, you guys are the talent and you're the ones that we put on the field and you're the product, but you do not make, decisions before you even take an NFL snap. So I wonder if that was just like a collective, agreement, maybe not an agreement through the NFL, but a collective like understanding of like, listen, we have to send a message.
Yeah, it must be, and I'm sure the NFL is gonna look into it. The one thing I did see too is like, the NFL is so big on like, taking out like this whole. I lost my train of thought of like. I don't want to say it was like racism or anything like that, but like take this whole thing of like we're inclusive of everybody and things like that, and then you have Shadur Sanders come in, and then the owners collectively turn around and push him down to the 5th round. Like that's a Bush League move, and in my opinion, and the NFL needs to do better.
I'm all for the confidence in players, and Shador obviously carries that confidence, but I think the way he went about his pre-draft process, like saying like I'm the guy before really being the guy, I think that's a problem.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean,
but don't be surprised if he comes out of this quarterback class being the best one.
No,
because they pissed him off.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised.
And I just feel bad for Dylan Gabriel because he's just going to become a casualty in this whole thing.
That pick was so dumb. Let's be real. Let's not sugarcoat it.
I know. We'll see. Moving into the running back position, I thought this was going to go a lot better than what it did.
Yes.
Not to say that I'm disappointed, but I thought there were going to be multiple teams that were taking, a lot of these running backs, but and there was even one surprise. So I'll go through these and then we'll talk about it. So Genty, no surprise, first running back off the board. He goes to the Raiders at the 106.
Great pick.
We already talked about Hampton going to the Chargers with the 22nd pick. I think that one is, I think. Out of all of these running backs in this class, I think Hampton has the best situation.
For sure.
He has the scheme fit, the offensive line. He has the only hurdle he has to jump is Najee, and even still, like if you're someone in Dynasty and you're sitting like with the 102 and the 101 is Genty, don't be afraid to take Hampton and just let him sit a year. Not to sit him, but
right.
He has this problem with Najee for a year, and then it's wide open the year after that.
Yes.
Quinshon Judkins
this is one of the good picks that Cleveland made. Aside from their quarterback picks, they had a really good draft.
I like this pick a lot because we had talked about this before. The only people who are on the roster were Ford and Pierre Strong, and they had nobody. So Judkins comes in and he's easily the number one back in this backfield, which I love because I was really high on Judkins. I think you were too. He was your second running back on in your rankings, and then. This one at first seemed like a head scratcher, but the more that I thought about it, I actually like this pick. It's Travion Henderson to New England. I think this is a phenomenal pick. I think he's going to take Ramondre's job by week 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Major loser of this draft is Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, 100%. And we talked about I think I saw a couple of reports before leading up into this draft that now that McDaniels was back in New England, he was looking to get that receiving back that they had, which is what made that offense. So, and they got the best one in the draft. So I think Henderson is going to be a great pick for, and I hate to say it because I'm not a huge Patriots fan, but Patriots, you got yourself going.
Yeah, I'm a D1 Patriots hater, but man, it's a good pick.
That is such a good pick.
I'm trying to confirm, but I swear I heard today that Vrabel said he's going to be a 3-down back. That's what I'm looking for right now. I just can't find the quote.
I love that.
But if that's the case,
watch out.
I to be honest, I didn't really expect the Patriots to take a running back in. Actually, let me rephrase. I didn't expect the Patriots to have the opportunity to draft Travion Henderson.
Yeah, I think when especially because this was a day 2 pick, but like when watching like the day 2 picks, you really started to realize. I just want to pull it up really quick that the teams in the top half were like going for those top end running backs and wide receivers where you were thinking like, oh, some teams might wait and be able to get some value later on in the end of the second or third. Yeah. That did not happen. No. Like the guys we were keeping our eyes on, they went early in the second round, which you love to see because you want to see the draft capital, which is a huge piece to it. This next one's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Big time for me.
RJ Harvey, running back out of UCF, went to the Denver Broncos at 228. This is their pick for running back. Obviously they went Jahdae Barron, who's a phenomenal defensive back out of Texas, and they decided not to go Hampton, but they also, I don't know, like you also had Caleb Johnson on the board, you had Scatterboo on the board, and they decided to go Harvey. I don't know, this one was a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, the corner that they draft, list, a great player. You added to one of your biggest strengths. You have him and Patrick Surtain, two lockdown guys. So I get it for NFL fit, but with how poor their running attack has been, the last few seasons,
My God.
it's just like I don't get how RJ Harvey is the pick in the second round. You don't take someone in the first.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make a quick aside in our dynasty league. So as we're recording this, ladies and gentlemen, we have a dynasty rookie draft that's going on, and I'm hotly watching it. I just wanted to let you know, Woo, that Jackson Dart just went in the 108. Oh my God!
And Warren before Ted McMillan.
Boys,
what are we doing? Terrell. What are we doing?
Terrell.
Oh man.
So sorry, we may reference this a couple more times as we go through.
We're gonna have to. This is insane.
Just so everyone is prepared. But maybe at the end of the show we'll give you where we're at to this point. So anyways, RJ Harvey was a head scratcher. This next one I actually like. Caleb Johnson went in the third round, 19th pick to the Steelers.
Zach, you say we give you crap all the time.
I love this pick.
Great pick. Steelers.
I was going to say you need order the Johnson jersey immediately.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't a huge fan of Caleb Johnson, but I was. If he went to the right system where the scheme fit him, I think he could do damage. I think that's what happens here for him.
I love the landing spot, and to get him in the third round, that's huge. And I think the draft capital's still there.
It's still there,
him.
Absolutely.
I would say anything in the first 3 rounds.
I think in rookie drafts, I'm comfortable taking him between like the 109 and the 111, 112.
I'm taking him before Dart. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, easily. And then just to round out a couple ones, this one I put in, Woo, and I want your take on this. Byshell Tootin, running back out of Virginia Tech. He was the fastest running back in the class. Went 4th round, 2nd pick. If you are a ETN manager, are you afraid of Byshell Tootin?
Like maybe a little bit. Like it was a bad year for ETN last year.
It was
like really bad. I think what ETN has on his side is Liam Cohen coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It's if we have a panic meter, I'm saying like. Out of a scale 1 to 100, like sell this guy right now.
Immediately.
I'm saying 40 with an opportunity to double.
Okay.
By like week 5.
I see that. I was a little concerned because I do have ETN in our dynasty league that we're referencing, and I did see this pick and it made me sweat a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but who knows? Maybe this opportunity with Liam Cohen and and running the offense could be good things for ETN.
Yeah.
But if not, then I know I got to get out quick.
If anything, I think it's worse for Tank Bigsby.
You think so?
I think he's gonna be the real victim of this pick.
Wow. Why do you think that?
Well, why go get a running back if you're already confident with ETN and Bigsby? One of those guys has to be a problem.
I think also they're not their guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they came into this, like Cohen came into this situation. This is what he had. And I wonder if just to have that, that speed back, coming out.
Is he
going to
be this year's Bucky Irving?
I
Are you willing
hope
to
not.
put a stamp on that?
I hope not.
Actually, no. You
I don't want it.
Yeah,
I don't want it at all. Actually.
Yeah.
Last running back we'll talk about is Cam Scadaboo. Went 4th round to the Giants.
I like the landing spot.
I think it's not hard for him to beat out Tyrone Tracy.
Agreed.
So he's someone if you're sitting in the middle of the 2nd round, I would pull the trigger on a Cam Scadaboo.
I think the New York media is gonna love this guy.
Yeah.
And
oh my God.
Just the whole tri-state area is gonna love this guy.
Yep. So next position group we're going to get into is the wide receiver. Travis Hunter, first wide receiver off the board.
Big
not
surprise.
Not to Cleveland.
No,
went to
Cleveland.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So now, let's look at this as from a holistic view, right? I think Trevor Lawrence is. I don't know if we put that one in, but Trevor Lawrence is a winner here.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because he was hurt and wasn't really there for the breakout of Brian Thomas Jr. Now you add Travis Hunter to this piece on top of ETN already being there, Bigsby, Tootin. Like he's got some weapons.
I agree. So I'm not gonna lie. When the pick first happened, I thought this was bad for Travis Hunter with already having Brian Thomas. But I was talking to a buddy yesterday, and he loves the spot for Hunter, and the way he explained it to me, it makes me lean towards being more confident in Hunter. Where, you have Brian Thomas Jr. He really only works down the field outside the numbers. Maybe that changes with Cohen. Who knows? But that was just what was on tape from last year. somebody's got to have the middle of the field in between the numbers. I think Travis Hunter fits into that role really well.
Yep.
He could be a really good slot guy. If you're nervous about the route running and the release from Hunter, and you don't think he really has it there, like I think the slot would be a perfect spot for him. And we've all been waiting for Trevor Lawrence to finally show why people were calling him the next Peyton Manning when he was at Clemson.
Yeah.
If he's ever going to do it, like now's the time. When
Do you think this
weapons.
is like his like 1 year shot? Like, let's say he absolutely like crash and burns. Like, do you think Liam Cohen's like, I'm out on Trevor Lawrence and they're looking for their guy?
You have to consider it. Like, how many times are you going to let that guy get away with that before like being able to hold him accountable?
Did he signed his extension already?
Yeah, he
right?
did. I'm gonna
so he is
that.
locked. So if anything, they're gonna have to trade him. Which, I mean, I'm sure there probably be some people, the Browns would want a quarterback, or Pittsburgh, because that's also someone who did not make a move. I mean, they did take my boy Will Howard, but
yeah. But when it comes to rookie drafts, if you're sitting at because I like Genty and Hampton 1 and 2, I think Hampton's in too good of a spot not to take him.
Oh, absolutely.
So when it comes to like 3 through 5, if you don't need a quarterback, you don't need Ward, and it's between like Tet and Travis Hunter for you, like I say flip a coin. I think, if I were to get that pick that we were just talking about before, but for me it was between Hunter and McMillan. Flip a coin. I'm fine with either of them. I think I do lean Travis Hunter though in that spot.
Yeah, I could see it. And then I think we just got a couple more. We have a whole more. So Ted McMillan goes to the Panthers, 108. We sat here on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we called that.
We told you first that he was going there.
Yeah, Todd McShay said he wasn't going higher than 12. Sorry, Todd.
Sorry, Todd. And I love the landing spot. We sat here and said, like, if you give someone like Bryce Young, Ted McMillan to pair up, like I think Bryce Young is a huge winner in this draft.
Massive,
absolute massive winner. Like you get someone like Teteroa McMillan to combo with Xavier Legette, who I like a lot. He's a big body receiver.
Mm-hmm.
On top of there are other people out in the Twitterverse who love Jalen Coker. On top of Jatavion Sanders and Chuba Hubbard, like he's another one like Trevor Lawrence. Like he's kitted out. Like he's ready to go. And if you can acquire someone like Bryce Young, and maybe even try to like if you had an early rookie pick and you were able to stack him with Tet McMillan,
that's
my God, nice. Do that immediately.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm all in on this spot for Tet in Carolina. Like you said, huge for Bryce Young. I'm thinking like Panthers might have a shot to win their division.
Yeah. Also, ladies and gentlemen, just want to throw out that Tet McMillan has not been drafted yet in our rookie draft. And we're at the 110 right now. 110.
Do the right thing, man. Make up for your last pick.
Hold on one second. Let me see if I can shoot a message to our boy. If I can get a hold.
Maybe I can trade in here and grab him. Wait a minute, actually. Now that we're talking about it.
Let's see. There we go. All right. We'll see what happens here. While we're podcasting. Who said we can't do both? Right. Next on the list we have is Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. This
tells a lot of stories here.
It does.
I think.
It does tell a lot of stories. So he went at the 19th pick in the first round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
which I think is shocking.
It is shocking. Like we talked about him as being the most polished receiver in this draft, 100%. But I was very concerned with this pick to Tampa Bay because that tells me that I don't think Chris Godwin's ready.
No,
I don't think he's ready at all.
It tells me Chris Godwin isn't ready, and Mike Evans might have a year left.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna let him go get his 1,000 yards, break the record, and then kind of like fade him into the sunset.
I think so too. But listen, all good things though if you're Emeka Egbuka because he's gonna fit right in. Like wow, I think they wanted. Jalen McMillan, who is a huge loser, by the way, in this whole thing. I think they wanted him to be the slot guy, and he just never turned out to be that. Egbuka can play everywhere, and he dominates in the slot.
Yeah.
So he's going to fit in immediately in the slot in this offense while Godwin is hurt, and who knows, maybe he takes the job and runs with it.
Yeah.
But he's a very talented guy, so, the situation is a head scratcher, but when you look into it a little bit more, the opportunity is there for Egbuka, and you don't ignore a first round wide receiver.
Yeah, and this is Tampa Bay's front office, I think, reassuring Baker, like, listen, we will keep giving you guys Like, go out and ball like you have been. And don't worry about the weapons. Like, we'll keep him here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Next one we have is Mr. Matthew Golden. It was a first-round wide receiver.
Should have been a Charger.
I'm glad he's not.
Wow.
But he goes to the Green Bay Packers, though, 23rd
spot.
overall pick. I remember watching the draft with you, Wu, and he gets drafted. Looks at everyone at the crowd, then goes behind the podium,
hops on the mic
to address everyone.
All-time move.
Love that. I like the landing spot with Golden because you get a good pairing with Jordan Love. However, this is a big loss for if you're someone who's a Jaden Reed owner, if you're a Christian Watson owner, if you're a Romeo Dobbs. And not that like they're going to be absolutely irrelevant, but like he's going to eat into the target share, which is huge.
It shows that they don't know who is going to be their one.
No,
they have no idea.
And listen, all jokes aside, for Matthew Golden, like is he a true one?
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. So,
but anything, they already have the franchise quarterback with Love. Anybody with Matt LaFleur, I love.
Yep,
I love.
Yeah, it's a good pairing offensively. Next one. This one I didn't like. I like the player. I don't like the fit here. Is Jaden Higgins to the Houston Texans in the second pick of the second round. The reason why I don't like this pick is because Jaden Higgins he's a big body. I think he's like 6'5", and he plays solely X. And they have an X receiver. They have Nico Collins. So the only time you're going to see Higgins on the field is if Collins needs a rest or Collins is injured. Which it's a good move if you're Houston because you dealt with wide receiver injuries all last year. Mm-hmm. At one point I think Dell, Diggs, and Collins were hurt, or maybe two of the three were. So they made the moves necessary. We didn't put this in the doc, but they also went and got
his
the
teammate.
other. They got his teammate. They got Jalen Knoll in the end of the third round. So they loaded up big on receiver. But I personally for Higgins, I don't like the fit here.
Yeah, it is confusing with already having a very similar play style with Nico, but they need all the help they can get. So I'm sure they'll find a way to get them all on the field and make it work in some capacity.
Yeah.
They got a new offensive coordinator, right?
Yes, it's the Cawley, the guy from San Fran, I think he is. But I think I saw a report actually about this. Whoever the guy is, I want to say it's Cawley, but they
Cawley.
Yeah, but they did. I think he came from San Fran. Does it say?
I got a picture of him in a Chargers sweatshirt.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm familiar with his.
No, he did come from the Rams.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know that he was looking. Sorry, CJ Stroud was saying that in this offense he's like really taking command of it, and that they're doing whatever they want.
Sorry again. Are you watching this draft?
No, I was.
Please look so the camera can see your reaction.
Oh, stop!
Because they definitely just saw mine.
Well, I was actually in the midst of talking to Jesus.
What are we doing, boys? What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing, boys?
Did Ted McMillan shoot one of you guys?
Why is he falling? So with the 110, ladies and gentlemen, Terrell took R.J. Harvey.
We just talked about how this pick was a head scratcher.
Yes, but they love him. You know what I mean? So I don't think he's a first round pick in rookie drafts. But I don't know.
There are 6 names here I would take ahead of him.
Yeah, easily. I don't know.
That's crazy.
We might have to speed through this so we can get back into this because I have some ideas already.
Yeah,
I need to get in
after my Sam Presti trade. I need to get back in.
Yeah, right. All right. Next one. The guy we both loved here at this table, Luther Burden, goes to the Chicago Bears at the 207.
Listen, Ben Johnson has so many toys.
He does.
But God damn it, this was not the spot Burden was supposed to go.
But if you think about it, right? How was the Lions offense run through? Yeah, it was run through Amon-Ra, and if he's thinking that this is his Amon-Ra and running in the slot, like I don't know, that might be a really good pick. This hurts Rome Odunze, and I know you just traded for him, but this almost like kind of pushes Rome Odunze to the side.
Are you sure? Rome Odunze was the 9th pick.
I know he was.
I think that
but he wasn't drafted.
He wasn't,
but he wasn't drafted by Ben Johnson.
Guess.
Ben Johnson drafted Luther Burden.
It's fair.
You know what I mean?
How much can you really hold that against the guy?
Oh, I totally agree with you. But what we have to realize is when coaches come in and they start with their new regime, they want their guys in, whether they don't like a player or not. If Rome is talented, then they'll either find a way to work him into the offense, and if that's not going to work, they're going to trade him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But you hope that he stays because he's hopefully built a connection with Caleb Williams, and Caleb kind of fights him to stay in this locker room.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens with Burden. Burden, I think we both said when he had the football in his hands outside of Travis Hunter, was the most talented receiver in this draft,
sure.
With the ball in his hands. And if you have Ben Johnson scheming plays for someone like Luther Burden, I'm excited to see what happens.
Caleb Williams, massive winner from this draft.
Oh, my God. He's
for sure.
Huge.
So big.
Next one we have is Trey Harris, goes to the Los Angeles Chargers. I love this pick. Obviously, biasly as a Chargers fan, but also if you look at it holistically from, an offensive perspective, that was the one piece outside of tight end that they were really missing on the skill set wise.
Yeah.
They filled it in the first round with Hampton. Now they have, Trey Harris is a big body receiver, and now I think Ladd's a big winner in this too.
Oh, for sure. They needed somebody to stretch the field and open up some lanes for Ladd McConkey, and this is the perfect guy to do it.
And I'm not saying that the Chargers are going to go deep, 10 or 10, 15 times a game, but it's going to matter when they do because he's going to open up the field for Ladd. Ladd's going to chew it up underneath, and then when you least expect it, it's going to be bomb city for Trey Harris.
Correct.
So I'm excited.
It is a really good spot. And listen, we were talking about when the Jets were sitting in the second round, I thought maybe that would be a spot for him, but for fantasy-wise, Chargers definitely a better spot for him.
Yeah. I'm
not going to sit here and lie to you.
And last one, we did not talk about this player in the draft cycle process, and this happens, but Jack Betch out of TCU. Is it Jack or is it Jake? I can't remember now.
I think it's Jack.
It's Jack out of TCU, wide receiver. If you followed the story on him, you loved him. You love to see it. He was wide receiver at LSU. I think he actually led in receptions that year at LSU, where like Malik Neighbors was there and Brian Thomas Jr. was. Transfers to TCU, does really well, and then I believe his brother passed away during the season, and then he had scored like the final touchdown in the Senior Bowl. But he's a really good receiver. You know what I mean? And I think this is a great landing spot in Las Vegas because there's nobody else that's there.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, but like
right, but there's so many opportunities available.
There is, right? So I think that he's definitely a winner. And I like the pick.
Give Geno Smith more weapons. He's my starting quarterback, please. I'm all for it.
You're gonna need it. Okay, so moving on lastly into the tight ends before we get into our winners and losers. Colson Loveland was the first tight end off the board. I think we were both shocked by that one when we were watching.
Shocked.
And he goes to the 10th overall to the Chicago Bears. Again, we just talked about Ben Johnson. Again, think about this offense now. Caleb Williams now has DeAndre Swift in the backfield. He has DJ Moore. He has Luther Burden in the slot. He has Roma Dunze, and now he has Colson Loveland as a tight end. Yeah. Like he is probably the most kitted out quarterback that we've talked about so far. Like Lawrence has some weapons. Bryce Young had some weapons, but this is insane.
Guys
everywhere. And you have Ben Johnson calling the plays. Like, how does this not work? You know what I mean?
Listen, we've been trying to get you on the Bears train this whole offseason.
I just don't get how this doesn't work. Like this has to, like if this doesn't work, selfishly, yes, I have Caleb Williams in our dynasty league, but like if this doesn't work, like I don't know what, like they have to like rip him out and put somebody else in immediately.
Yes,
because like the weapons are there. Like the Bears should be scoring like 28 to 35 points a game,
and their defense isn't even that bad.
No. So
it kept them in games last year.
So TBD. I mean, if you're someone who, we tried telling you earlier to go out and get Caleb Williams, but now might be a little bit too late.
No way.
But if you want to try, give it a shot.
This next one, man.
This one
makes
hurts.
Me so sad.
This one hurts.
I can't believe you got it right too.
I know. Tyler Warren went to the Indianapolis Colts. This pick sucks. I'm just gonna come out and say it because even if it doesn't work with Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones is the next guy in line. So like this might be like a, close your eyes and then draft Tyler Warren and then just pray to God that Richardson only does 1 year, and they can get a competent quarterback in the next 1 to 2 years in this draft, and then it brings some value to Tyler Warren. But we'll have to wait and see for him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. How is he not wearing a Bears jersey right now?
I know.
I mean, I love Loveland, but when Warren's sitting there, like I thought he was gonna be easily a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
And the fact that he gets to 10 to Chicago, I'm like, oh, this is a perfect pick.
Yep.
And they end up going Loveland, and then to see him fall all the way to the Colts.
Yeah. But listen, we talked about. I mean, obviously, I didn't expect Loveland to go to the Bears at 10, but we went through each team from 10 to 14, and nobody needed them. You like if we wanted to avoid this catastrophe, we needed a team to trade back in, but
yeah,
it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's like the quarterback play just isn't there for me. I hope that he's so good that I hope he just his talent outweighs the terrible situation.
Yeah,
quarterback wise. But like I don't know. I don't even know if I'm comfortable taking him in the first round. I'm not gonna lie. Like I might be that out on it.
I get it. I think unless you have a serviceable tight end on your team to like get you by, then yes, take him. But if you were someone who was like banking on Warren to be like the dude, maybe you look the other way. If Loveland's off the board, like I'd have to take Loveland over Warren
all day.
Next one we have is Mason Taylor. He went to the New York Football Jets.
Yes, he did.
What's the temperature on this one? How are we feeling?
It's when that pick came around, definitely wasn't who I thought they were gonna go. Fantasy aside, like Will Johnson was sitting there. I thought for sure that was a lock.
Yeah.
They just lost DJ Reed in free agency to Detroit, so I thought Aaron Glenn being a defensive guy, I thought that was going to be a smash pick. But listen, I'm not mad at Mason Taylor at all. I think it's a really fun project, super young, uber athletic.
Yes.
Like, I'm all for it. They needed a pass catcher, and they've been weak at tight end for years now. So I'm all for it.
He comes in and he's immediately the tight end one, right?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, he's got to battle it out in camp, with Rucker and
if Rucker couldn't beat out Tyler Conklin last year, or I don't even remember who their tight ends were the last couple of years. That's how bad it's been. But no, I'm all for it. It's a fun, athletic pick. The upside is there, and they were just so desperate for a pass catcher. 100%. So he's gonna have plenty of opportunities.
Yeah. Next tight end off the board was Terrence Ferguson. Ty sat here on this episode when we went over tight ends. He was like, Terrence Ferguson is the one person to look out for. Uber athletic, dominated at Oregon, and I think the Rams took notice and drafted him with the 214. So
that's such a good landing spot.
I was going to say anyone connected to Sean McVay and that creative offensive scheme, I'll hear it out.
They love their tight ends.
So we'll have to kind of see, but he's someone who you definitely want to take a late round flyer on.
Yes.
In the draft. In your rookie draft, sorry. Next one was another head scratcher here was Elijah Arroyo. Went in the second round, 18th overall in the second round to the Seattle Seahawks. I know we talked about that, Seattle wanting to needing a tight end. I don't know if Arroyo was the pick though, right? We sat, he was one person that I brought up at the end of our tight end episode. He only had 35 catches, like I don't think you saw the full scope and sequence of Elijah Arroyo. And I don't know if, I'm sure Seattle did their homework. Obviously they get paid to,
right.
do that job, but I don't know how that fits, in that offense. That, that one was another head scratcher for me when watching. I don't know. How about you, Will?
Thankfully for Arroyo, like there was no one else there for, to compete for targets. Like he can easily step in and be a part of this offense.
That's
so
true.
if the talent is going to translate, we didn't see enough of him in college. If it is in there, which I don't see why they would take him in the second round if they didn't think it was.
Yeah.
It is one of the better spots for him because of that, lack of, targets that are already taken up.
I just also I don't get the landing spot too with how Seattle's going to want to run this offense. Like it's Clint Kubiak, as the new offensive coordinator, and then he's also, it's the San Francisco scheme. Like George Kittle blocks,
yeah.
He loves it. Arroyo is, 6'5", 250. I don't know how much of a blocker he really is. So we'll have to wait and see. And then this last one hurts. I think we were all pulling for Mr. Harold Fanning Jr.
Yeah.
but the Cleveland Browns strike again. So the Browns took him. Listen, day 2 capital or day 2 value. He goes in the 3rd round, third overall.
Is this worse for Njoku than it is Fannin?
I think this is worse for Fanning than it is Njoku because I think Stefanski loves Njoku. I think maybe they also did this because Njoku gets hurt a lot.
True.
And so maybe they need a contingency plan, when he is hurt. So I mean, if Njoku's not on the field, I love it. But with Njoku being there, and I don't know Njoku's contract situation. Who knows? Maybe he's towards the tail end of that, and that may sway either way for the Harold Fanning manager. Who knows?
His Bowling Green tape is insane.
Oh my God.
I was dying to see him in a situation where he can walk right in and be, the tight end one. Like a Seattle would have been a
I'd
great
take
spot
Seattle
for him.
Seattle, the Rams, Jacksonville. Like I would have took all those. Those would have been perfect.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal, but yeah, the whole Njoku piece is interesting. Like, is it the contract? Is it I think he's like 27, 28? He might be younger than that.
I can pull that up
off
for
the top
you.
of my head. But it does raise some questions on, because I think you're right. Like Stefanski does love Njoku. He's been the focal point of that offense. Obviously besides Jared Jeudy had a smash year last year, but
he's 28, and then in his contract situation, they can void him next year.
Oh well,
so
that might be your answer. Right there.
There it is. That might be your answer.
Yeah.
So this year he's getting paid around $4 million, and then they can void him next year, and he becomes a free agent, and he's 30 years old. I mean, not to say like that's crazy for tight ends, but still maybe they've already kind of saw that out and they have their contingency in place. That makes it a little bit more interesting for Fannin. I didn't even realize that. But we're going to transition to the last part of our show. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about some winners and losers. Woo, anyone just like out front glaring that was a winner for you?
I can't believe you don't have them written down. I mean, we already talked about it, but it's Hampton.
Yeah.
He got the best spot out of any running back. LA wants to run the ball. John Harbaugh wants to, run the ball right down your throat, even when it's coming. And Hampton's the guy to do it.
I love it. Yeah. I think when we talked about this one before, but Caleb Williams is an absolute massive winner.
Yes.
I may be a Chicago Bears fan. Like I might be like, that might be my NFC team.
So we're going to the Windy City next year?
I'll go to the Windy City and watch a game all day.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Another one I want to point out, obviously this is because they didn't make a move. Chase Brown's a huge winner in this draft.
Yes.
Because, the Cincinnati Bengals did not make a move at running back. And I think if they did, it was only a late pick. I have it 1 second. Yeah, they took a 6th-round pick, Taj Brook out of Texas Tech. So I think Chase Brown's an absolute massive winner. If you're someone who was holding Chase Brown, you're safe. I think you're good, and be ready to fire him up for this year.
I think I even said to you the night of the draft on the live stream, like, is this I think the 17th pick?
Yeah.
I think I said, is this a spot for, Hampton to go?
Absolutely.
They could just make that offense just start, but they didn't.
That would have been a spot, or in the 2nd round. But obviously, you look at Cincinnati's draft; they went defense. Yeah,
no, they did. They did what they had to do.
They did, But so if you're a Chase Brown manager, like, lucky you. I'm just gonna rattle off a couple more that I have. Baker Mayfield's huge.
Yep.
Grabbing Ibuka, and just committing the offense, to him, which is great.
Yep.
Could be a sneaky trade for, if you need a super flex QB. RJ Harvey, we talked about how it was a head scratcher for the Denver Broncos, but that's awesome for him. We talked about Ted McMillan, we talked about Colston Loveland. I did say Trey Harris was a huge winner. My last one, and I hate to go back to it, but Kyle Williams, wide receiver out of Washington State.
Yeah.
He was getting some late buzz in the draft cycle.
So fast.
And he went to New England, who has nobody. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about it. We joked that they had plumbers and electricians, playing wide receiver. And I think Kyle Williams. It'll take a little bit, but like, I think he's going to be the dude. You know what I mean?
If there's ever an opportunity, it's in New England.
And if there's an opportunity, like if you're someone who has Drake May, easily you could acquire Kyle Williams in your rookie drafts with like a 3rd round pick.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think anyone really is aware of him.
No.
and you have a stack right there.
Yep.
Do you have any other winners you want to round out, Woo, before we get into our losers?
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about Judkins. Like, it was just such a good spot for him. I have him as my in my running back 2 rankings when we did my rookie tapes.
Yep. He's gonna smash, dude, in Cleveland.
I think he should be a top 6 pick in rookie drafts.
Yes. Crazy question. Where do you take him in redraft leagues?
Wow. Okay. Ooh. Where do I take him in redraft? Man, Genty's gonna be a first round pick.
Yeah, he's definitely not a first round pick, but like,
I'm playing like the rookie running backs like through my head on like where they kind of slot in. So Genty's gonna be in the first.
Yep.
You could argue Hampton in like the second.
I think he might slide a little bit more though because the backfield situation is so muddy with Najee Harris.
Fair.
But like, I could see people in redraft taking Judkins over Hampton just for
Really?
that year. Because think like, who's he competing with?
No,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
I get it.
Ford is a complimentary guy. You know, I could you imagine like if Quinshon Judkins was your RB2?
Yeah,
you know
I was
what I mean?
thinking like 4th or 5th round for Judkins.
Like
in
you win,
redraft.
like let's say you win. I like 4th, so like let's say you go RB wide receiver, and then in the 3rd round you roll Judkins. You know what I mean, to combo like that. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, I think it's such a good spot for him. The backfield is his. We've seen enough of Jerome Ford and Pierce Strong to know that they're not gonna be a threat to that backfield.
Yep.
Sure, maybe there will be a shared backfield. It's not gonna be his right away.
Absolutely.
But this is a great spot for him. He's gonna own that backfield very soon. And then another one, kind of sneaky. Again, Zach, you're welcome. Will Howard's a winner.
Really?
Dude, there's nobody there.
There is nobody there.
Will Howard, you are the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I can't believe that.
There's nobody
Rodgers
there.
has to sign there, right?
Jail.
There's no way they roll with a 6th round rookie
Rodgers
quarterback,
is
right?
deep in the mountains, high on ayahuasca, thinking about why'd I tear my Achilles and ruin my career with the Jets. But no, Will Howard's a winner because there's nobody there.
Yeah,
nobody there. You are the starting quarterback. I think it's going to stay that way.
I might just have.
I think the Aaron Rodgers thing is over. I think their only other option is to trade for Kirk Cousins, and even then, I would think Will Howard's starting by week 10.
Yeah, I could totally see.
It's just like, how do you watch Kirk Cousins anymore? I'm sorry, he's a great guy, but man, it was tough to watch.
I know,
and there's weapons there for him, so I think Will Howard's a winner.
Yeah, and then just transitioning to our losers, we both have this one. We'll get this one out of the way. Shedeur Sanders. Sorry,
Tough,
we apologize, man.
Tough.
Hoping the best for
He's
you.
got a crazy chip on his shoulder. I'm telling you.
He's
Watch him. He's gonna be the best quarterback out of this class. I'm telling you right now.
We'll see. We'll see.
What day is it today?
It's
Monday, April 28th,
Yes.
8:11 p.m. Shedeur Sanders is gonna be the best quarterback out of this draft. You're here first.
I love it. New Orleans Saints. What are you doing?
Yeah, bad.
Just like other quarterbacks, like Milroe was on the roster. Like, I think we talked about Milroe even being a potential for Kellen Moore.
Have you seen the clip of Shaw?
Yes, and the where he throws off platform,
sidearm.
It was so bad,
and it's like 20 yards off of the receiver.
People loved him too, and I don't get it.
Yeah, he also had one play at Louisville. He's pocket breaks down. He's scrambling out to the right, and there's a running back like kind of out in the flat, and there's 2 linebackers right in front of him, and he shoves it right to the linebacker while he's like, it was like a fadeaway. It was like
amazing.
Kobe Bryant in the post,
That's
like fadeaway shovel pass. Is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Some other losers I have: Jaylen Warren. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a wrap.
Yeah, you're a receiving back. I put here the running back class as a whole.
Listen, the capital wasn't there. I thought there was going to be way more capital.
And that was the thing,
him.
right? So like we talked about other guys like. Let me see if I can pull up the running back position. Like we talked about Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson is the backup or 3rd or 4th string in Cleveland. He went to Cleveland too, along with Judkins, and we were hoping that he goes somewhere to, be something. I think Scadaboo is appropriately, valued.
Yeah, I was fine with that.
He went ahead of these guys. There was another DJ Giddens I was really excited for.
Mm-hmm.
He was a 5th round pick. Ollie Gordon. We talked about Ollie Gordon.
I forgot to check where he went.
He went to Miami, which it was in the 6th round, but I think he beats out Jalen Wright, right?
I don't know. I feel like we didn't see anything out of Jalen Wright last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Straight Devon Achane
and so
down your throat.
he could be the 1st and 2nd down, and they can get Achane back into that hyper efficient role that he had 2 years ago when he was with Mostert. TBD on Ollie Gordon.
Yeah,
but Devin Neal.
that's the name I was just looking for.
Devin Neal, 6th round pick, went to New Orleans Saints.
Oof.
like bad.
Yeah.
Damian Martinez is another guy I heard, 7th round pick. So I don't know. Like it was
Actually, I think the only name that I kind of liked for a late running back was Jadon Blue. He went to Dallas, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But again, 5th round pick.
Correct. It like the capital wasn't there, and I think that's why I have the running back classes as a loser as a whole.
I agree.
Io Maynor, I was hoping more for him. I thought he maybe would be in that bunch of wide receivers that went in the 2nd round, but he slipped to the 4th, and so we'll see. All the Green Bay wide receivers, losers. Sorry guys, you're gonna have to fight with Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
Tank Dell I put here as a loser. I'm hoping the best for Tank Dell, but I think him coming back from this injury, you're not going to see him this year, and it just gives an opportunity for Higgins and Knoll to really like step in and solidify their spots as the 3rd and 4th, or even 2nd or 3rd. Because all they got to do is jump Christian Kirk.
It's a tough part about football. You get some gruesome injuries, and it can ruin a career.
And then the last two that I have are DK Metcalf and George Pickens. They have no solution at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I did see something. I guess Dallas had. I saw again. This is like a Twitter report, so I don't know how much of this is true, but Dallas essentially had a deal put in place for an NFC North wide receiver that they were going to trade for and essentially have. And most of the rumors were pointing that it was George Pickens because we had saw that Pittsburgh was willing to trade him during the draft and things like that, and then it fell through. But so I have them both as losers. But could you imagine as George Pickens with CeeDee Lamb and Dallas? I feel like that'd be a crazy combination.
Although stay away from CeeDee Lamb's touches. Stay away.
Yes.
Stay away.
All right. What losers we got for going on?
Real quick we had a couple crossovers. Shador, obviously.
Yes.
Luther Burden we talked about already. Love the talent. It's just there's so many mouths to feed on that offense. I'm not saying that he doesn't have the opportunity to create an avenue for himself, but it's just so much harder. It's so much harder now. So that kind of sucks. Tyler Warren for sure. Colts might be the worst spot he could have went. Like, let's be real.
Oh my God.
It's so unfortunate because he's so talented, and I'm really praying that his insane amount of talent can push him through the brutal quarterback room. So we'll see what happens with him. I have Denver as a loser, man. I can't believe they didn't take Hampton in the 1st round. I thought that was such a lock.
Didn't take Hampton, and also I don't think they took a receiver to help out Nix.
That was going to be my next point.
Jump in
no, that's all right because it's the truth. Like listen. I get it. Your defense is nuts, but it already was.
Yeah.
To me, it was just like this.
The only receiver they took was Pat Bryant in the 3rd round out of LSU.
Yeah, I don't know
which,
who that is.
Hold on, by the way, I keep going, but I'm gonna look up the wide receivers. And see
It
who
was just
on
like
the
the spots that they were in. It just felt like such a great opportunity to give Bo Nix just insane amount of weapons.
Dude, they took him over Jalen Knoll. Jalen Knoll was still on the board when they took that.
Again, that's why they're in my losers category. I think there was such an opportunity here to come out next season with just all this youth on the offensive side of the ball and Bo Nix leading the charge, and they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then my last one's Ramondre. We kind of touched on it already. Travion Henderson in the 2nd round. I still can't believe they had a chance to get him. And that just shows that Ramondre's done, man. He's had the backfield for a couple years. I think he had a good fancy finish in 22 or 23. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think so.
But he was like a good RB2.
Was he undrafted?
I don't know.
I don't think there was any huge capital on him, but
yeah, if there isn't, then it makes sense.
The reign is done.
Yeah, the ball security was an issue. I think he couldn't really there were some injury issues as well.
Yep.
But Travion Henderson, welcome to RB1 of the New England Patriots.
Yeah, he'll be interesting to see where he goes in redraft leagues too.
I think I was talking to one of my buddies today. I think he got him at 6'5", maybe. I forget.
Yeah, I just had a different rookie draft, and I think I took him at 6 as well. He went at 4 in the one that we've been referencing during this episode, which, by the way, I haven't seen any movement at the 111, and Ted McMillan is still there.
I'm trying to trade.
Are you doing it right now?
He's not messaging me back. I sent out the message. I sent out the deal, actually.
I'm just gonna call him on the phone after we're done here.
We should do that.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is episode 17 of the 4th and Fantasy podcast. I just want to say thank you very much for
Yes.
watching, listening. You guys are the GOATs. We
Yep.
really appreciate you. Make sure you are checking out next week's episode though, because we got a banger for you.
Yeah.
Such a banger. We're gonna give you another rookie mock draft.
I was gonna say, you think we're done talking about rookies?
No, they continue on. But again, make sure you're following us on all of our socials at Fourth and Fantasy Pod, Instagram and TikTok at Fourth and Fantasy, YouTube at Fourth and Fantasy. Make sure you give us a like, follow, share on all of our socials. Leave a comment because you might see yourself on the show. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you later.